attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everyone to today's AutoCAD Build Your IQ session. We want to welcome all those who are returning as well as the newcomers for this week. We will be looking at plotting in general and the Plotter Manager specifically today. Your presenters are Volker and Christina, and Jason and myself will be moderating. So without any further ado, we will turn the session over to Volker.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here today. And before we get started, of course, just some general house cleaning here. House cleaning? Keeping. Go ahead and feel free to leave any questions in the chat window. We want to answer your questions. I kind of get the feeling we're going to have a lot of questions in this session. And we will leave plenty of time after the presentation to answer those that we didn't have time for in the middle of the presentation. Also, don't forget to check out our landing page for added webinars. We have webinars going on right now on the schedule through December 10th, I think it is. And so I encourage you to take a look at those. I'd also like to talk to you about the Autodesk Knowledge Network. For those who have attended in the past, you're probably very familiar with this, but we did add a couple of hot items here. One is the article for the Mac OS X 10.10 or Yosemite and the compatibility with that in AutoCAD. So be sure to read that if you have any Mac AutoCADs running out there. And also a AutoCAD Architecture MEP update, which is actually an update by Microsoft. So be aware of that. Also, we've provided on this slide down here at the bottom some quick links to your AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT hotfixes, service packs, and other downloads. So later on after this session, you're going to get a survey about an hour after the session's over. And it will have a link to the location of this slide deck so that you have these links available. And you will be able to grab this information from there. So I am now going to just real quick hand this over to my colleague Christina and see what she has to say.
Thanks, Volker. So we do have a couple of questions. We'd like to get to know you all a little bit better. So I'm going to throw up a couple of polls, actually a series of polls, including our favorite new feature, Volker Trivia. Or actually, it's trivia designed by Volker. All right, so 90% are Autodesk subscription customers. We do thank you for that. And then our next poll, this to be about how many webinars you have attended. We know we do have a lot of familiar names that we see, and it's okay if it's your first time as well. And if you're so obsessed with us that you put us on repeat on YouTube, that's great too. A lot of these things you got to watch once and then a couple times more to pick it up. All right, so about 68%, this is your first to third time. So this is actually a great part to be jumping in on because we know that printing, plotting, PC3s have a lot of questions. All right, and now for the world famous trivia. So when was plotter configuration introduced? And we have release 9, 12, 14, and 2000. And it's kind of neck and neck between 12 and 2000. Oh, three-way tie coming up, 12, 14, 2000. I am going to close the poll. And it looks like 38% are guessing 2000. Volker?
Wow. Okay. Well, you are partially correct, you 38%. And so are you with the Release 12 and Release 14. Release 12 actually introduced the partial configuration file, or PCP. And then Release 14 modified that, expanded on a little bit, and then finally the PC3 as we know it today was introduced in AutoCAD 2000. So good job all of you Longtime AutoCAD users, or those who looked it up real quick on Google. If so, that was pretty fast.
And everyone wins pride in yourself for knowing that answer. So.
All right. Hey, great. I think that was it, right, Christina? On that?
We get a few more about PC3s and plotting, but why don't you go ahead and do the agenda, and then we'll go.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, we don't want to bore you too much with the polls. So I'll talk a little bit more about the differences between the plotter configuration files in a moment. But let's take a look at our agenda here. We are going to talk about the Plotter Manager. And all the Plotter Manager really does, it's a location to store our plotter configuration files, which initially are created by the Add a Plotter wizard. And then the screen capture right next to it, to the verbiage there, you'll see that among many other places, we can find a couple of applets in the AutoCAD, in the Windows control panel. And one of those applets is the Autodesk Plotter Manager. And that allows us to create those PC3 files that you see in the content view of that browser window. So what are plotter configuration files? Well, with AutoCAD 2000 and up, we have what is the PC3 file. And basically this stores plotter settings. Whoops, totally lost my train of thought here. So this stores plotter settings such as media size, what printer, plotter, or output device you're using. You can control things like the merging of lines. You can tweak paper sizes, so modify an existing paper size to be something more suitable to your output. You can add custom paper sizes. All of your printer/plotter settings are stored in this file. We can create a PC3 file through various methods. A My Computer, network, or system printer option is available. We'll talk more about that as we walk through our creation of a PC3 file. And you can modify the PC3 file after it's been created. And I did neglect to add one item to this slide. We were just talking about it this morning, in fact, and that is when you modify a PC3 file, you are not actually modifying that file. You're creating an additional file which is appended to that PC3 file, and this has an extension of PMP. So be aware of that. I'll add that to the slide before we upload it for you to download. All right, so let's take a look at some key terms here as well for the Add a Plotter wizard. And if you've been around for a while, you're familiar with this, but for those who are new to AutoCAD, it doesn't help for me to talk about this stuff if you don't know what things I'm talking about. So what is a device driver? Well, it's for any peripheral hardware, such as a printer or plotter, which may be connected to your Windows system or server. We have different types of drivers. For example, there's the Windows system driver. This is available for any application in Windows, including AutoCAD. So it's just, think of it as a generic driver installed either by Windows or by on a driver disk from the manufacturer. Now, some manufacturers, such as HP, for example, will also have optimized drivers available which work for both Windows applications but have been designed to be used for AutoCAD as well. Okay, and those are called optimized drivers. And when you are creating a PC3 or a plotter configuration file, for example with HP, if you are using a Windows system driver, you may get a message saying, hey, go to the HP website, there may be an AutoCAD optimized driver available. If there is, then you should install that. We also have what are called Heidi device drivers, HDI. Now these are designed specifically for use with AutoCAD. And you will find manufacturers such as KIP and Xerox, to name just two, in order to use their plotters, large format printers, with AutoCAD, you would need to download these in order to work effectively with AutoCAD. So those are Heidi drivers. Now, let's take a look at the plotter configuration files. First introduced in AutoCAD Release 12, and working in Release 12, 13, and 14 is the PCP file. This is the partial plot configuration file. This file was device independent, and which means it was pretty generic as to the settings that it stored. Okay, with AutoCAD Release 14, a device dependent, although it was also device independent, plot configuration file was introduced. This was the PC2 file. And the PC2 file allowed you to configure settings specifically for one plotter or just or for a generic use of plotters. Okay, so you were able to use it for in a not so limited fashion as the PCP file. With AutoCAD 2000, the PC3 file was introduced. And again, this stores numerous additional settings such as the media size, paper, media source, I should say, among other items which we'll see in a few minutes. So that is just to make you aware of the key terms there and a little bit about the history of this. Let's go ahead and turn this over to Christina again real quick, and I will get AutoCAD ready to demonstrate the functionality here.
All right, so first we want to know if one of those terms in particular is familiar to you, whether or not you use PC3 files. You may have seen it, you may have heard about it, rumors, not sure if it's good or bad. Looks like the majority of people do know that they're using PC3 files. So that's great. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. So this will be helpful because if you're using them, you definitely want to know how to work with them a lot more efficiently. And now, how do you plot? So one of the things Volker is going to be looking at is different types of devices, be it on your network, your server, if you have one that's actually directly connected to your machine. A lot of people now are printing to a digital format first and then sending that to a plotter or a company that's going to be printing for them. Or if you're particularly devious, perhaps you plot in a small circle of friends.
Got a few of those.
And there's only 6% saying they plot with a small group of friends. Perhaps their plots are a lot larger and they need a larger group of people to engage. But the majority, about 56%, to a network device, but a 33% large amount are going right to digital first and then going out to your hard copy.
Wow.
Great, which is a trend that we're seeing a lot more of.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, before we turn it back to Volker, now here is a scenario you may or may not have run into. We want to see how often it comes up. So you pick a plotter when you go to print, and for some reason it reverts back to none, like you didn't even select that device. Or you might get a message before you even get to pick your plotter that says, this PC3 cannot be used or cannot be found. We want to know how familiar you are with that. And it looks like it's pretty close between first time hearing about this, rarely. So sounds like we might have some strong page setups going on along with the PC3. All right, thank you very much. I will turn it back to you.
All right, very good. Thank you, everybody, for participating in that. We do appreciate the feedback. So moving right along, I've shown you that the Plotter Manager or Add a Plotter Wizard exists in Control Panel. We can also type Plotter Manager at the command line, whoops, in order to get to that functionality. Or, and this is AutoCAD LT I'm using, it works the same as in AutoCAD. We can also go here, Manage Plotters, And this is the application browser menu, by the way. And we can also go to the Output tab of the ribbon and select the Plotter Manager here. Now, when you first open up this or invoke the Plotter Manager, you're going to see a folder that the Windows Explorer browser pops up to a specified location where we have our PC3 files as well as the Add a Plotter wizard. Also note the PMP files folder. Now, where this is dictated is in the Options dialog. I'm right mouse clicking over my command line. I'm going to go into Options and Files. And here under Printer Support File Path, this is where we can go ahead and relocate those plotter configuration files. So if you are wanting to create a plotter configuration file for all users on your network, relocate this to a server location, and that way you can create your plotter configuration files and store them there and have access, and everybody can have access to these files. Now, when you are configuring a PC3 files, there are a few things you need to take note of, especially if you're going to share those files. For example, they're based off of a printer driver that you've installed, be it Heidi, Windows System driver, or a software driver. These drivers could be different on other users' workstations. So on a Windows 7 machine, I may have installed the latest drivers. Somebody else may have installed them a couple of years ago, and the PC3 file may need to be modified. If the other user is using a different COM port for the printer, then that may need to be modified in the PC3 file as well. Always make sure all the users have the current drivers installed if you're going to share these files over the network. I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm going to go back to the Plotter Manager, and let's go ahead and take a look at what one of these files looks like and how we can create it. We'll actually start off by creating one, and these here, if I didn't mention it already, are installed by the application. If you don't have a PDF creator, like Adobe or PDF Creator or a couple other packages out there, and you need to plot to PDF, there's a PC3 file that has been installed with AutoCAD. Moving on to the Add a Plotter wizard. By double-clicking it, it has a quick introduction page explaining what this tool does. And then it has the begin page. And this is actually the page that confuses people more often than not. We have options such as My Computer, Network Plotter Server, and System Printer. So for the most part, My Computer and Network Plotter Server both are there for you to use as options if you have a plotter that uses an HDI driver. Again, HDI drivers are specifically designed for the hardware that the manufacturer created. So to get proper plot results, you're going to need to install that driver. Because it does translate the drawing geometry directly for that AutoCAD application. Network Plotter does the same thing. Of course, in this case, you may have that Heidi driver installed on the Network Plotter server. And we'll install one of these in a moment. System Printer. This is any driver which you have installed on your computer. And it may have been installed off of the network server. So if you have, say, a Designjet or let's say a Laserjet printer on your server, you may use the system printer to go ahead and create a PC3 file for that. I'm going to go ahead and select System Printer first here. And I have a print-to-file Laserjet right here. And I'm going to select it as the output device. Now here, if I have any legacy PCP or PC2 files, I can import those and it would import those settings. I haven't seen a PCP or PC2 file in quite a while, but they are out there. I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And I give it a unique name here, so maybe I'll type something like File because it is print to file, and click Next. Now here I can go right into the PC3 file and modify it. If I need to calibrate the plotter, I can do so here. And calibration maybe if you just things aren't lining up properly on the paper, maybe the plotter was jarred, a printer was jarred or something like that when it was being shipped, you may need to calibrate. It's definitely happened. I'm going to go ahead and click Finish, and it creates this PC3 file. To modify this without being in that dialog, I'm just going to go ahead and double click on this. All right, so it tells me here that this is the configuration editor. It has a general tab showing the drivers, what port it may this file may be pointing to, in this case plot to file, and then it has some settings that I can modify here. So in this case, the source, whether it's collating or not, what type of resolution for graphics here. Notice these are grayed out, okay? Raster graphics are not. Just there's some things that we can't control here. True type text is text, lines overwrite or lines merge. Now, when we change these settings here in the PC3 file, that does not affect the printer driver itself for other applications. Where it may affect it is if we were to go into custom properties here. Okay, I'm going to go into custom properties and note this. Note that we are no longer in the plotter configuration editor. We're now in the HP Laserjet software, the software installed when the driver was installed. Now, there are some changes here. If I were to add a custom paper size, for example, I'll go ahead and add one, and we'll call it VC. We'll go with an odd number here. Let's go 9.5 by 12.5. Actually, that should work. I think I used a different value last time. Let's go 9 and 2.5. And I'll click OK. And so I've added that sheet of paper. Oh, this is the one I added earlier. That's actually a better example. So when I add a custom paper size here, it adds it to our printer. Once I get out of this, it'll update this particular printer if I go back into it. So I've made some changes here. I click OK. And this then adds those custom paper sizes to our current PC3 file. Okay. Now, if let's say I need to modify some of the standard sizes. Okay. By default, I can't really do that, but here in this, if I did it on the printer, it would modify it for every user on the network. Okay, so what I can do here is I can modify this 11 by 17. Let's say give it some different margins. Okay, just change it all to 45. Top and bottom will change to 40. Click Next. Put an M there for modify and finish. So that now has created what is called a plot modification parameter file. And basically it has appended this file to our PC3 file. This way we don't modify the existing file, and we could actually create other settings and modify the PC3 file with different configurations. We can also filter paper sizes through our PC3 file. So in this case, all I want to see are these two paper sizes. Okay, so I click OK here. And having done that in AutoCAD, let's just go into page setup here. Page Setup Manager, there we go. Or the plot dialog, we could have gone in that as well. Here we can now choose the output device, which is that Laserjet. And for some reason that did not let me filter. That's awkward.
Is there another one there on the list, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Christina. Boy, I am just so awkward moment. Didn't happen to me this morning. But notice this. It's got a printer icon here. Thank you, Christina. That tells me that's this Windows System printer. So what I need to do is scroll down here to where I have my Laserjet PC3 file. Notice how the icon next to that looks more like a plotter. Not to mention it has the extension for PC3. And notice now that it only filters those two, or shows those two paper sizes. So in a network environment, if you have this PC3 file on a server somewhere, you can dictate what paper sizes are available for the end user, where they don't have to search for it every time that they're getting ready to go plot. Okay.
All right, and Volker, I don't know if we want to check in with Sean, see if we have any questions.
We had more of a statement first from Daniel, which was that when using PC3 files, it seems the text is not printed. So you know, that's something that's going to be hard to say right here. Typically, if that tends to be more of a file-specific issue, the PC3 wouldn't necessarily eliminate the text just by itself, so it's probably more of a file thing, but I'll also give Volker and Christina a chance to comment on that.
Well, I guess what output device is being used for a PC3?
HP Designjet 1220C.
Yeah, I'm not sure how new that one is. We're actually going to talk about HP, a document that HP has released about their PC3, about their printer drivers. But typically, the PC3 shouldn't be doing anything or not, shouldn't be keeping anything from plotting. This would be maybe controlled by a plot style table. Christina, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say there's probably a couple of things that could be associated with it. One thing that popped to my mind when I heard the question was some printers, not necessarily just PC3s, but some printers are having some issues with transparent true type fonts, and that might be a little bit out there for people, but I know having a true type font, which we all commonly use, Arial, something pretty like that, and then having it be transparent, some printers are not printing those out. Like, you'll see them on the screen and you can print it to a PDF, but it doesn't actually come out to paper. So it could be something like that, but maybe we need some more specifics, and the forums would probably be great for that.
Yeah, a good first test on anything like that, if you're seeing that, is to send a print, create either a PDF or a DWF of the file, see if the same thing happens, because if the text is still not there, then you know that it's probably more of a problem with the file.
Yeah.
If the text is there on the other device, then you can go back and say it's probably something with either that driver or the device itself. So that's a good first test to do. You at least, cut down half of the possibilities of what could be driving it. But like Christina said, go ahead and post that one to our forum that you'll get in the link, and we may have to, get your file, and then we can look at that more specifically. So the second question was, can you rearrange the list of paper sizes in the PC3 so that your favorites are the ones you use most often always stay at the top?
Stumped me on that one.
Yeah,
So we filtered those out, but there's no real way to rename those sizes, and there's no way to. This would probably be a good wish list item for the product feedback. Unless, Christina, am I missing anything here?
No, I haven't found a way. I mean, back in the day, we would try to go in and add numbers or names to them, but not like an actual order. It's just sort of tricking it, so 1, 2, 3, something like that. But you probably would need access to the network printer. But
yeah,
I'd say probably wish list.
And
I can chime in on here, but I used to set those up for, and I would just have to create them. I would have to list, and if I knew what I wanted, I would have to put them in order myself. So if I wanted the 11 by 17 and then the 12 by 18, I'd have to do them, in order for them to show up in order the way I want. But then if I added something towards the end, like a smaller, I could never change the order to bring it up top or vice versa.
right, and there's no way to rename those paper sizes either. So again, here's the thing. Send feedback. This is under the help icon. This goes to the product team, and it's basically there for improvements, wish list items. Okay, this is not a support feedback link. This is to get input from the end user for enhancements that can be made to the product. So I would encourage you to send that item to the team for a wish list or a feature enhancement.
One suggestion I can give, and I used this back when I worked in the industry, is usually you only have a handful of sizes that you're consistently printing to. So what we would do is, like you just showed, Volker, go in and just choose the ones that you use most often. And usually you can get that to where, at least when you go to your plot window, you're only seeing the sizes that you use most often. So you can at least eliminate the scrolling down to the bottom of the list, or having to go through 20 of them to find what you want. So that may help. Most people find, you have 8K here, right? I mean, there's a lot in there that probably don't get used very often. So just doing that alone might help you with some time saving.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the PDF driver in a minute, and you'll see that it has just about every paper size in there. So you definitely do want to get rid of some of them. But I know that I several times have tried right mouse clicking over one of these paper sizes just to see about renaming them, and that would be a nice option as well. Unfortunately, it's not there. So let us move on. We're burning up a little bit more time than I wanted to on that. We'll answer some more questions. I'm going to show a couple more things. So the next thing I'd like to do is just to show you the difference between installing the system driver and using, say, an HDI driver. So I'm going to go to my computer this time in the Add a Plotter wizard, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll select a Xerox. We'll go with a, I don't know, 8830 just for grins. If you have a updated driver disk, use it. These are just drivers installed by AutoCAD. I'm going to click Next. Again, we could import our pin assignments and colors from an existing PC2 or PCP file. I'm going to click Next, and I'm going to tell it I want to plot to a file. Click Next. We'll go ahead and click Next. And again, we could modify things here or click Finish. if you have an HDI driver like this, you're going to have to make it available somehow to all the users on the network. So if you're using the network option, these are not drivers installed by the Windows environment. Now notice that as I clicked on the PC3 file, that we have a different dialog right away. It goes into the PC editor, and if I go to custom properties here, custom properties, Voker, click here, you'll see it brings up a completely different dialog. This is not for the Windows applications out there. This is for AutoCAD, and again, updates may be available on Autodesk or the Xerox website. And here it gives you some options. These are all specific to AutoCAD. No other Windows applications. So HDI drivers, again, they're designed for AutoCAD, and so you're going to see options specific to AutoCAD. If I want to add a custom paper size, go ahead and do that. Click Next. We'll just go ahead and something like 36. I tried this with a different plotter driver, so I'm not sure if it's going to work here. I'm ad-libbing, okay? Just to kind of make a banner. Bond paper. Oh, there it is. 13 by 36. So that's now available here under custom paper sizes. In the Windows system drivers, we would not see this, but because it's specific for AutoCAD, we can't see it here. Let's take a look at one more driver real quick, and that would be DWG to PDF. And what I want to show here is the paper. We were talking about paper sizes. So, okay. And note just about any paper size that you want is going to be available here. Also, under custom properties, there are certain things you would want to be aware of because fonts are handled differently with PDF. You want to make sure that you capture some of those fonts as if they're not a typical Windows system font, you want to make sure that those are captured as well. And you can edit a font list to make sure they are included with the PDF. Or if your file is too large, you may want to exclude some of them. Here you can also include the layer information. So in Acrobat, for example, you can have turn on and off layers. So we can include that information here as well. And also have the PDF viewer open up when you've plotted to a PDF. Any other questions while I take a quick...
We just had a question around when is the best time to create PC3s? Is it when you get a new printer, when you get a new server?
Okay, well...
When should someone look into that?
You're going to have to, with the printer, update. Once you've updated your drivers, you should create that PC3. So there are times where you don't have to. I typically, if I know I'm updating drivers to especially a major release, version 2 of a driver to version 3, definitely create a new PC3 file. You may have to create a PC3 file if somebody's using, say, Windows 8 and you're using Windows 7. You may have to create a separate PC3 for each one of those systems in order to, because of the different drivers as they were designed for those systems. The thing is, PC3s are great. You don't have to create these. Okay, if you ever need to troubleshoot stuff, you're using a PC3, things aren't looking right, try plotting directly to the system driver. Okay, other times if you've been doing something with the system driver and you want to see about tweaking some additional settings, then install a PC3. I like using the PC3, but they're not mandatory. I hope that answers it. It's your discretion, you know, as to when you want to create them. But if you're going to create them and use them, then update them with new drivers. Whenever you have new drivers, update them. If you're, well, you'll have new drivers when you go to new operating systems, so you should update them then. But I've known people who have used PC3 files over and over for release after release after release of AutoCAD, and then all of a sudden we get a support case, my PC3 isn't working. Well, you're using Windows XP drivers that you've created your PC3 from. You're now using Windows 7. They don't recognize those drivers as expected. Any other thoughts on that, Sean or Christina or Jason?
No.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at one item here. I've also, in this slide deck, I'm hoping everybody can see this.
Yes.
Thank you, Christina. I've included some additional resources for plotters. These are just some common things that we get support requests about. How do we do this? How do we do that? So these may be worth your time to take a look at. But the one that's really a big support issue, or has been ever since AutoCAD 2015 was released, is this HP Designjet. Oops. Wait. Okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. All right, there we go. There we go. So we will have a support document about this as well. I think it's being worked on. But be aware of this. Sometimes you have problems with PC3 files or with printer drivers in general when you update to the next release of AutoCAD. Yes, AutoCAD is a Windows application. Yes, those drivers work well with all your other applications. But the bottom line is that AutoCAD handles printing differently. And it is to give you greater control over your output. And in a lot of those cases, when we see printer issues or plotting issues, it's not the application. It's because the driver has not been updated. And the first thing, if you're having problems after upgrading to a new release of AutoCAD with your current printer driver, even the PC3 file you created, go to the manufacturer website. See if there's any updated drivers or information about things not working as expected when plotting from AutoCAD. Right now we have a problem with some limitations in the PC3 file with HP. There's this document, there's a link to it. And I'm not picking on HP, don't get me wrong, great company. Okay, this could be Xerox. If you buy a KIP plotter, okay, you're going to have to go to their website and download the current driver for the current release of AutoCAD. They have drivers and software specifically designed. They're HDI drivers. One example, I think it was release 13 came out. AutoCAD itself would plot as expected to the latest driver that HP put out. AutoCAD LT did not. It would rotate everything 90 degrees. Okay, again, I'm not picking on HP. This is just something that occurred, and it wasn't an AutoCAD issue. HP quickly put out a new driver and resolved the issue. So things to be aware of. It's not always the software. Sometimes it's the translator from a device to the software. In this case, it would be a driver as a translator. And, yeah, again, so just be sure to download this slide deck. It's got some great white papers and a link to that document about HP Designjets and about configuring Xerox devices. I should have put something on there for configuring a KIP. I neglected to do that, but just go to their website. They're really good about updating their software as well. Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
There are no more at this time, but we have a little more time here, I know. So actually one just came in. So Tony is asking us, doesn't the PC3 file access the plotter calibration information and then adjust the plot based on that information so that it plots in scale?
Well, it does. So one of the options when creating that PC3 file was to calibrate the plotter. And so, yeah, it does access it. I'm not, I guess don't have a better answer than that. Sean, do you? Or Christina? Jason? I guess I'm not.
I think it would, yeah, it would have to be something we'd have to dig into a little more. I don't want to give the wrong information right now. I have my suspicion, but I think what we can do is just make sure we get the correct answer and then get that posted.
Yeah, my last, Tony, I apologize. My last calibration issue that was several months back. But again, calibrating a plotter does affect your PC3 before it's created. So I guess if you could, yeah, I don't want to say be more specific, but give me a better example of what you're looking at there, because I don't think I'm following the question properly, and I apologize about that. It's a Voker thing. I guess one more thing, PC3 files, if you know you're sending the file to somebody on at another company or within your company at a different location, they have the same hardware, you can send that PC3 with. Again, they may have to adjust things like the COM port in the PC3. They do need the current driver, so that's important. But a lot of times we'll send drawings to somebody with a PDF, DWG to PDF PC3 that minor adjustments have been made to. If you want to make sure those get to your clients, customers, consultants, use the e-transmit command to send your files. So in this particular case right here in AutoCAD LT, if we go to publish, you'll see we have e-transmit here, and yeah, because it's not a saved drawing, but we'll just save it real quick. And when you do that, it's going to look for any PC3s that have been attached. In this case, there isn't. And if there's a PMP with that saved with that PC3, it's going to find it. And then you can just zip it up or let the transmit tool do that for you. And your customer, your client, your consultant, whoever is going to get all the referenced files they need. Okay, well, let's see. One last slide, I think, here. We've already done the question thing, and it doesn't appear there are any more. We do have some sessions coming up that we're going to be 2 more plotting sessions. One is...
Sorry,
yes.
Volker, we're still seeing AutoCAD, just as an FYI.
Oh, my user error. Okay, my user error. There we go. How's that?
There it is. Yep. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Sean. So next session up is examining plot style tables. Do a little bit with CTBs, STBs, and some conversions, and what the heck is an STB compared to a CTB. After that, we're going to go off on a different tangent and tailor and managing workspaces, and then Jason will conclude our plotting series with the sheet set manager on November 20th. If you want to be here on Thanksgiving, yeah, I'm going to be watching football and eating turkey. So we're going to take a break. We will be back after that, though, and it's not listed here, but we are going to have something for the beginner users of AutoCAD, which is working with selections, selecting objects, selection sets. So the agenda is filling up. AU's coming up as well. Sean and I will be hosting a class there, several classes, in fact. And we hope
you have prizes at your AU classes.
To be determined. You need to attend. You need to attend to find out.
Nice.
Anyway, I think that's about it. We're just making small talk here. It seems like
well,
it.
I do have a couple things.
Okay.
I am going to post it there, right in the question chat window. I'm putting the links for the upcoming sessions and the Knowledge Network. I'm also going to post the link Volker mentioned about the feedback link. This first one here is the one that it's not meant for direct one-on-one technical support, but if you do have a wish list item or something that you've been looking for in the product that hasn't been there for a while, please use that link. Each one is read and taken very seriously. It's just that they're meant to be researched further as opposed to direct answer. However, if you did have things related to this webinar that you wanted additional help with, I know there were a couple questions we needed more specifics on. You can use our feedback link that brings you into the community. We'll be happy to answer those. And we also have one more poll.
Oh.
One final poll.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, so this one's going to be a little bit different because it's more of an open-ended question. So it's, what did you like about this webinar and anything that you didn't like? And for that, we're just going to ask if you could post it into the question chat window. You may or may not be able to adjust some things there. If you would rather be anonymous with your feedback, you might be able to make it organizers only, so just we see that. We also do have a tip from RK, who just suggests that if you copy or move a PC3 to a new location, just beware that your PMP, you'll also have to update that path.
That is a great point. I should have mentioned that. So, thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
And again, you can change those paths in the options dialog too if you just want to make them globally available. But yeah, sending it to somebody else, you need to be aware of that. Good point. For those who don't want to leave feedback on this last poll in our chat window, we want to cater these webinars to you, the attendees. And if there's something you don't like, if there's something you do like, if there's something you'd like to see more of, go to our feedback page, which is the bottom link there, session Q&A feedback. And which will also be that link will also be on the the slide deck, obviously, but in the survey. Let us know. Otherwise, we're winging it. Okay, we're doing what we feel like doing, but we want to be there for you guys. So, enough said on that. Okay, I am going to call this a day. Yeah. We appreciate everybody being here. We really do. Your time's valuable. We know that. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.